How are we doing today? Okay, I'm not sure. All right. Oh, you'll get back to me on that, apparently. Yeah, it's been a challenging week at school, as you heard from Pastor Kaylee, and thank you for that prayer. It's been a challenging week at school, not just for that, other stuff is going on too. Stuff that normally it doesn't happen until the spring. I said, it's like April and May already in the school, and it's October. I mean, we had 3 fights break out on Friday. We don't have fights this early in here at school. I mean, it's crazy stuff going on, just absolutely nuts. But I got to be honest with you. I mean, I love almost all about my job. I really do. I love my job. And one of my favorite parts as a teacher is when I get to see students that have graduated, and I run into them. You know, maybe I'll run into them in a store or something down on the street, or sometimes they come back to the school. And I had one come back this week, as a matter of fact. One of my favorite students ever. She graduated 4 years ago. She's a senior in college now. She came back for a project that she has to do for school, and she had to interview some teachers. She's an art major, which means pray for her because she has no future. Sorry. But she had to do a project for her major, and we're talking, and as we're doing the interview, she starts talking about being back in my class and learning English and grammar and stuff, and how they don't teach it, even in college. And she had an art professor who was teaching them about passive voice. I don't know if you recall that from back in school, but you have active voice and you have passive voice, the 2 ways you can write. And don't worry, I'm not going to bore you with an English lesson. But all you need to know is active voice is better. That's all you got to know. But the art professor was teaching them about passive voice, except, and the girl's name is China. China's telling me the story, and she goes, except, Mr. Durso, she got it wrong. I said, what did you do? Did you say something? She said, oh yeah. She said, I knew that wasn't how you taught it, but I wanted to be sure. So I looked it up on my phone, and then I raised my hand, and I said, actually, passive voice is, and she corrected her. I've never been so proud in my life. I said, that professor doesn't like you now, does she? She said, oh no, she doesn't like me. That's when I know I've done my job right. When we can correct college professors nationwide. But all you need to know about active and passive voice is that active voice is better. And when I teach it in school, I always tell them, I said, when you go to a movie, you go to an action movie, right? And when The Rock is saving the world, he's not doing it by sitting there going, I hope the world will save itself. He's got to save it, right? We don't go see passive movies, we go see active movies. When you read a book, you want to see things happening, people doing stuff, right? And the same thing is true in life. Nobody wants to, I don't think too many of us have a goal in life that I wish I could just lead a passive life, and then I'll be happy. No, we all want to lead an active life. We want to stay active as we get older, right? We want to do things. Amen, Jim Marcus. We want to do things. We want to be active, and we do not want to be passive. What makes you think it's any different in our spiritual journey? God does not want us to be passive, church. He wants us to be active. And the stories I'm going to share with you, a couple of parables of Jesus that Jesus gave this morning that we're going to share is hopefully going to make that point of the dangers of being passive. I want to share with you from Matthew 25. We're going to look at verses 1 through 30, but we're going to start looking at the first 13 verses. If you want to turn to it in your Bibles, it will be behind me as well. This is the parable of the 10 virgins. And it begins, at that time, and I'm reading out of the NIV version, the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish, and 5 were wise. The foolish ones took their lamps, but did not take any oil with them. The wise, however, took oil in jars along with their lamps. The bridegroom was a long time in coming, and they all became drowsy and fell asleep. At midnight, the cry rang out, "Here's the bridegroom, come out to meet him." Then all the virgins woke up and trimmed their lamps. The foolish one said to the wise, give us some of your oil, our lamps are going out. No, they replied. There may not be enough for both us and you. Instead, go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves. While they were on their way to buy the oil, the bridegroom arrived. The virgins who were ready went in with him to the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later, the others also came. Sir, sir, they said, open the door for us. But he replied, I tell you the truth, I don't know you. Therefore keep watch, because you do not know the day or the hour. This is a parable. But it's not just a parable. It's what we call, again, English teacher, he's going to come out. Many of the parables that Jesus spoke were really metaphors. Again, if you remember from your days in high school, a metaphor is a comparison of unlike things without using words like and or resemblance. You got that, Rachel? Okay, it'll be a quiz. It'll be multiple choice, don't worry. That's what a metaphor is. This is not one of those, so you don't have to remember that definition. This is not a metaphor, this is an allegory. Now, an allegory is a little bit different. An allegory is a little more extended than a metaphor. An allegory is a story in which every part of the story is representative of something else. And this is a very simple allegory to understand, and it's very basic. You have a wedding going on. You have the bridegroom due to arrive at some point, but we don't know exactly when. You get the allegory? The bridegroom's coming, but we don't know when. I don't have to. Okay, good. And you have the 10 virgins, they're the bridesmaids, basically. Okay? And their job is to wait for the bridegroom to arrive, and then they're going to escort him in for that particular part of the wedding, the way it was done at the time. And so they have these lamps. These lamps aren't, by the way, just FYI, these lamps aren't the kind that you would hold like a lantern or whatever. They're on poles. Big poles, lamp at the top, a bowl at the top, you know. You got to fill it with oil. I fill it with oil every couple of hours because it's going to run out. And so it's probably daytime, and they're waiting, and there's 10 of them. 5 of them have filled it with oil, but they didn't bring any more. Right? Because they just assumed that the bridegroom was coming soon. Coming soon. He's coming soon. Oh, yeah. Make sure we're getting this point. How many believe that Jesus is coming soon? I believe Jesus is coming soon. What I don't know is the definition of soon. Right? Because soon to me means, you know, within a few months or years. But soon to God could be 500 years from now. For 2,000 years, people have been expecting him to come soon. Because he promised he was coming soon, and that was 2,000 years ago. So that tells you that he's got a different definition of soon than we do. He may be coming today. He may be coming hundreds of years from now. And we've got stuff to do in the meantime. And we need to be prepared for him coming, but being prepared means being prepared. We have 10 foolish virgins who were not prepared. They were only prepared for him to come during the daytime and come soon. And when their oil ran out, oops, we're out. We're not ready. Meanwhile, you have 5 more who were ready. They knew that soon might not mean in the daytime. Soon might not mean it doesn't come till midnight. Soon might mean it doesn't come till the next day. So they brought extra oil so that they were prepared. And then when it ran out, the other 5 said, hey, you've got extra oil. Why don't you throw a little bit over here? A little for us, a little for you, we'll all be happy. And the 5 wise virgins said, no. Because there might not be enough for all of us. Because we don't know when he's coming. Yeah, if he comes in the next couple hours, if we share, then we're all good. And what if he doesn't? We were prepared. You should have been. Go get some. Head on down the street. There's an oil salesman down the street. How they knew there'd be an oil salesman that late at night, I have no idea. But apparently, Walmart existed even then. And so they went down the street, went to Walmart. You got to read in between the lines sometimes. And got their oil.
Did they have that Jones on?
But well, it was Walmart, so of course. Biblical pictures of Walmart. So they went, and while they were gone, the bridegroom came. And in they went, and the doors got shut, and they came back and said, let me in, let me in, let me in. And no, they did not get in, right? They missed out on the opportunity. Church, we don't want to miss out on the opportunity that we have by sitting back and just waiting. I know I've done my part. I've asked Jesus into my heart. I mean, we're taught, right? Faith and not by works, right? That's what we keep, that is ingrained into us as Free Methodists, right? Boom, boom, boom. You are saved by your faith and not by your works. And so I believe that Jesus died for me on the cross. I believe that my sins have been forgiven. I believe that I'm going to heaven. And now I'm just going to sit back and wait for Jesus to come back. Don't tell me like you don't know I've just described a lot of the church. Let's not act like that's not the case. And we sit and we wait, and we wait, and we wait, and Jesus is saying, what are you waiting for? I got stuff for you to do. And so the lesson of this particular parable is that we are not supposed to be passive. We're not just supposed to, and we need to be prepared. And being prepared doesn't mean just sit back and wait. So this parable tells us what we're supposed to do. You with me? But the reason why we then have to move on to the next story is because the next story tells us how. Right? The first one tells us what, and then the next one tells us how. So let's follow along with the next one, which is the parable of the talents, where Jesus says again, it will be like a man going on a journey, who called his servants. This is another allegory, by the way. It's very clear who's who in this, right? All right, so follow along. This is another allegory. And entrusted his wealth to him. To one he gave 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags, and to another 1 bag, each according to his ability. Some versions say talents of money, by the way, if you're reading along in yours, and it has different wording, but it's basically the same. So also, I'm sorry, I lost my place then. The man who had received 5 bags of gold went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 bags more. So also the one with 2 bags of gold gained 2 more. But the man who had received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with him. The man who had received 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. Master, he said, you've entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I've gained 5 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. The man with 2 bags also came and said, Master, you've entrusted me with 2 bags. See, I've gained 2 bags more. The master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. You see the pattern here? Then the man who had received 1 bag of gold said, Master, I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you've not sown and gathering where you've not scattered seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here's what belongs to you. His master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I've not sown and gather where I've not scattered seed? Well, then you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. So take the bag of gold from him, give it to the one who has 10. For whoever has been given more, they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Again, another allegory, where the master entrusts his servants and expects them to grow and multiply what they've been given. And 2 of them do and 1 of them doesn't.
And so what lessons can we take from this parable that we can apply here at UFMC? Well, I feel that there's three things that we can get from this. And the first is that the parable of the talents teaches that we are not all created equal. One got 5, one got 2, one got 1, right? And by the way, talent, we can get into the whole biblical thing of talent. Most people think that it refers to large amounts of money, by the way. Large amounts of money, as in several months' wages. Some things that I've read have said, others have said as much as maybe $1 million equivalent to today's money. So even the one who only got 1 got a lot, right? The master gave everybody a lot. He gave some more than others. That's okay. My wife, part of what she has to do, part of her job, she's evaluating her employees, and there's different positions within the company, and some get paid more than others, and there's some people who look and say, hey, I like that job because it pays a little more. And my wife has to decide who's going to get promoted and who's going to get raises, and the raises are merit-based, so it's based on how well you do, and so she has to evaluate. Not everybody gets the same position, because you get the position according to the abilities that you have shown. I mean, that's just the way the world works. Well, it's the same thing here. Not everybody has the same talents and the same abilities. Paul teaches us some are called to preach, some are called to teach, some are called to be encouragers. We know the verse, right? But we all have a role to play. Right? And if everybody does what they can do to the best of their ability with what they are given, there is no limit to what we can accomplish. But the problem in this particular story is that everybody didn't do that, right? 2 people did, and 1 person didn't. See, it's not what you're given. It's not the abilities and the talents that you have that are important. It's how you use them. And everybody has a role to play. Pastor Kaylee has made very clear what vision God has placed on her heart for Uniontown Free Methodist Church. And it requires us having an impact on this community in a way that makes Jesus known to them so that the kingdom just gets on fire right here in Uniontown. Amen? That's the vision. That's the goal. And we all have a part that we can play in that. Now, it's going to involve us getting involved into this community. It's going to involve us getting out onto the streets. It's going to involve us making connections and building relationships. Now, not everybody is going to be capable of doing all of the heavy lifting in that. That's okay, because everybody has a part to play. As you guys know, it's been a rough few weeks in the Durso family household. And pray for my wife, because she's stressed and having a tough time. So please pray for her. But I got to share this with you, because as rough a week as it's been for me, and a rougher a week it's been for my wife, it's been a really rough few weeks for my mother-in-law. I mean, she's the one really dealing with this, right? And it's been difficult for her because life changed, as it has a tendency to do, because of one little trip. And now she's immobile, and she can't do stuff, and she's frustrated, and she's worried, and she's scared probably in ways that she won't admit. But something happened earlier this week that really lifted her spirits. And it's when she got an envelope, and she opened the envelope, and inside the envelope was a card from Evelyn Tucker. I don't know what it said, because I didn't see it, and I haven't read it. And she didn't say what it said. But I'll tell you what she did say. She said it was just what she needed to hear at that particular moment. So thank you for that. That's a big thing. It's a little thing. That's a big thing. Right? Right? Everybody has a role to play. And Evelyn, I'm not going to out you by asking you to tell everybody how old you are. You don't have to. I'm a gentleman. I learned my lesson. I never asked a lady that, and you're a lady. if any of you think that you're done. You're not done. You're not done serving God. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how physically able you are. You're not done serving. There are things you can do that reach people who are a part of our church family, and there are things you can do that will reach people who are not. Can I get a witness? Okay, I got a couple. Thank you for the couple. So that's the first thing. We're not all created equal, but it's okay. Because we all have a role, we all have a part, we're all going to do something. Second thing is the parable of the talents teaches us that we work for the master. We do not work for our own selfish purposes. This is the part where I do my Dr. Phil impersonation. And I say that it ain't about you. I didn't say it was a good Dr. Phil impersonation. If you want to hear good impersonations, go visit my son. He does those well. But it's not about us, right? It's not about us. We've been making that point on Wednesday nights. And by the way, big shout out to everybody who comes here on Wednesday nights. And they are doing an amazing job. It's a challenge. Dealing with the young people. Amen. Says Ruth. It's a challenge, right? Dealing with this young, we deal with young people anywhere. You know, people, the young people from this, no, it's just dealing with that age is a challenge, trust me. I don't care what demographic they come from, what community they're at, they're nuts. I say that with love, but they're nuts. Right? Again, I teach high school. They're at least semi-grown up. These kids are just bouncing all over the place. And I mean, it's herding cats for a solid hour. Well, more than that, because we bring some early and some leave late, so it turns into, you know, close to 2 hours. And we're physically tired at the end of the night. But they're doing an awesome job. No, come on, let's be real. But they're doing an awesome job. You guys are doing a fantastic job. And one of the things I keep telling them each Wednesday is, remember, it's not about us. It's about these children and our Savior. And when we reach the community, and that's reaching the young people in this community, but our goal is to reach everybody in this community. Our goal is to reach the families. We love having young people. We love it even more when we have their parents here. And we need to reach the families of this community, and the only way that we do that is when we acknowledge that it's not about us. Joy, right? We all know the acronym JOY, right? Jesus, others, yourself, in that order. And we put ourselves last. We humble ourselves. And where I think of joy, I don't think of the cross. I think of it up and down. Jesus, others, ourselves. We need to humble ourselves and put ourselves last. And then the third thing that I get from this is the parable of the talent shows that we will be held accountable. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, man. I don't know, Pastor Kaylee, I learned that when I give a sermon, you're supposed to end it on an upbeat note. And I got to end it on this one. I know. But it teaches us that we will be held accountable. That's the part of this story we don't like. The part of the story we don't like is the fact that these are 3 servants. Let's break this down for a second. I'll be brief, but let's break this down for a second. The 3 servants of the master. I said it's an allegory. We know who the master is. We know who the servants are. It's real easy to interpret this story if we want and say that, well, the 2 people who took what was given to them and grew it they were the Christians. They were the church people. They were the people being obedient to Jesus. And the one who takes and takes, you know, what's given to him and buries it in the ground, well, that's the sinner. Wait a minute, we're in church, let me do it right. That's the sinner. I just taught Jonathan Edwards Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God at school, so I got that in my mind. That was just for us. That's not what this parable is about. All right? These are all church people. These are all church people. And that last one represents the church people that think that they're done. and I'll just sit back, and I'll just listen to the music, and I'll just hear the sermon, and I'll come back next Sunday, and I'll do it all over again. And again, don't tell me that you don't know that I'm talking about a lot of people in the church today. Right? I've done my part, and I can be passive. I don't have to get out there and work on behalf of the kingdom. And I'll just play it safe. Because that's what that guy did. I knew you was a tough guy. I knew you were a hard master. I knew you had standards. That's really what it says there. In fact, some interpretations actually, some translations actually interpret it that way. Where he tells the master, I knew you had high standards and expected us to reach them. Uh-oh. And so I decided to play it safe and make sure you got your money back. And Jesus says, that's not what I sent you to do. I don't send you down there to play it safe. If you knew that I have high standards, and you knew that I expect you to reach them, then here's a crazy thought. Reach them. And you don't do that by being passive. You do that by being active. By getting out there. Not by saying, we'll just stay within our own little community here. We'll just be happy within our own little community. And we'll have a good time before church. And we'll talk to each other. And we'll catch up on our weeks. And we'll tell each other we love each other. And we'll hug each other. And then we'll go back and come back and do it again next Sunday. That's not what we're sent here to do. There's Monday. There's Tuesday. There's Wednesday. Do I have to say them all? I do. Okay. There's Thursday. There's Friday. There's Saturday. Let it never be said I was not responsive to the congregation. There's 6 other days that we don't have worship service here. We're not going to start. Okay, yeah. So there's 6 other days that you're expected to be actively working on behalf of the kingdom. Can I get an amen on that one? Amen. Don't say it unless you mean it. Amen. Right? Right? There's days that we're supposed to be out there, and we all have work to do. And Jesus expects us. You can make your way up, by the way. And Jesus expects us to get out there and do it. Now, here's the good news. Paul says in his letter to the Ephesians in the 2nd chapter, 10th verse, and why don't we read it together? For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works which God prepared in advance for us to do. I always teach my kids, find the verb first, because the verb is what the sentence is about. And the verb there is prepare. God prepared us in advance. There's nothing we can't accomplish, church. There's nothing we can't do if we all do our part. If we sit on our behinds, that might not be how I shared that part of my sermon with a few people yesterday. Rachel, quiet. And just wait for Jesus to come back. Just come back, Jesus. Life's tough, and this world is rough. People are threatening to shoot each other in schools. Just come back, please. Just come back now. I'm ready. I got news. He don't care if you're ready. He's going to come back when he's ready. Okay? Here's what he cares about. He cares about that you get out there and work for him in the meantime. So let's get up and get to work. Amen? Amen. You're welcome.